Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. If there is one metric that shows how the SNP are failing, it is in simply this. It's the amount of children who rely on food handouts to survive. Why should people in this modern world exist at such a point where they're literally living on charitable handouts from food banks in a modern Western democracy? It goes to show how badly Scotland and the SNP are doing when it comes to the economy. This is shameful, and it's all at the doors of the SNP. Their policies have led to this. Everything they've done has led to this. And the very fact that so many children, even children, are reliant upon it is shameful. We'll take a look at this. Just a quick piece. But I think it's something that everyone should be aware of because it is utterly, utterly disgusting. Here goes. Yeah, so it's not a big piece, but I think it is important. Just people need to be aware of the level of failure that the SNP have, where this is even a thing. The SNP must tackle the scourge of food poverty as a record number of emergency parcels are dished out. No pun intended, I'm pretty sure. The Trussell Trust said that an alarming number of families with children in Scotland were relying on handouts to survive, with over 128,000 packages between April and September. So in a 6-month period, 128,000 packets, emergency food parcels basically coming out. It's like Berlin, isn't it? In the, they do the airlifts and things like that. But this isn't all at the behest of a foreign nation. This is their own. This is their own people. This is the SNP are doing this. The SNP has been told it must act. After it emerged, a record number of emergency parcels have had to be given out by food banks in Scotland. Bosses at the Trussell Trust said an alarming number of families with children are now relying on the handouts just to survive. The charity called for action to tackle the hunger and hardship faced by thousands in Scotland to be significantly scaled up over this winter and beyond. As it's revealed, it has given out 128,490 emergency food packages over the 6 months between April and September. This is the most parcels that the organisation has ever distributed at this point in the year, with a total up 9% from the same period in 2022. Meanwhile, the figures also showed a record 41,878 food parcels were provided for 21,000 children living in families who could not afford the essentials, with this being 4% higher than the total from the previous year. The Trussell Trust added that almost 3 out of 5, 59% of the parcels provided between April and September went to families with children. The children of Scotland are starving to death. Literally starving because of what this government is doing. This SNP government. It can wank money away on glossy brochures, on spin doctors, on foreign embassies. And it can't even feed the children in its own country. This is a government that is no longer fit for purpose. Polly Jones, head of the Trussell Trust in Scotland, commented, "It is alarming that an increasing number of children in Scotland are growing up in families facing hunger, forced to turn to food banks to survive. A generation is growing up believing that it is normal to see a food bank in every community, and this cannot be right." It isn't. It's wrong. And of course, it's almost, you've got to say, it's almost got to be deliberate policy. They know what they're doing is so damaging. And yet they continue to do it. They continue to push for independence at a time when children are literally starving in Scotland. It's immoral. I mean, it's got to be a crime against humanity. Between April and September, 26,038 people needed such help for the first time, the Trussell Trust added, warning that food banks are at breaking point as more and more people find themselves struggling to put food on the table. He says, as the figures were revealed, Fiona Dalgleish, manager at Peebleshire Food Bank, said, "We're dreading the winter, to be honest. She said, last year was bad enough, but people are now completely exhausted and demoralised on top of being cold and hungry. We're feeling pretty helpless. We can provide food, but we need some more. We need some hope. There need to be a light at the end of the tunnel for people. The SNP have turned Scotland into some kind of Dickensian, sort of miserable world of poverty, destitution, unemployment, abuse. Honestly, it's like living in modern day Scotland is like living in hard times, isn't it? David Copperfield, something like that. It's grim. It's grim, says Mr. Gradgrind. Facts, boy. Facts. Anyway, it is absolutely awful, and it's getting worse. And they're doing absolutely nothing to reverse this trend. A trend that they have caused and that they are deliberately pushing and making harder. Ms Jones said that the rising hunger and hardship could have devastating consequences for individuals and our communities, and warning that this could damage the nation's health and hold back our economy. She added people in work, as well as people who cannot work, are increasingly being pushed into debt and forced to turn to a food bank to survive. It's got to be policy. There's no other excuse. This is either deliberate policy or they are too stupid to be in control, and they need to be removed. And the people who are voting for SNP are actually voting for this. The people who vote for the SNP are doing this to themselves. And you can guarantee half those people in the food banks are probably SNP voters. Well done. This isn't anyone else's fault but yours. You voted for the SNP. This is what you're voting for. Anyway, while she welcomed the Scottish Government's support for an essentials guarantee, which would require universal credit payments to be sufficient to cover all basic essentials, Ms Jones added, at a time when the need for emergency support is greater than ever, the scale of the hunger and hardship faced by thousands in Scotland must be met with significantly scaled up action this winter and beyond. And she called for the UK Government to act to ensure benefits rise in line with inflation next April. If she wants true cure for this problem, the UK Government do have to act. They have to remove the Scottish Assembly and put it back under Westminster control, and to stop all the money that is being wasted stupidly on all these little projects, all these vanity projects, from, just dissipating all this funding while children starve. It's disgusting. But that's the SNP. That's the SNP. They do not care. They're a bunch of psychopaths and sociopaths who would rather have children starve than, stop pushing their push for independence. Disgusting lot, aren't they? Anyway, I'm going to stop there and come up. It's the end of it. It's just, I just thought you needed to know. Anyway, coming up. Now, as I say, the SNP must know. They've got to know. And so, therefore, this is something that they're doing that they know they could do something to help and are choosing not to, because of course they're not. They're wasting money everywhere, as we've mentioned. They've got all these petty little things that they have to do because they have this inexorable urge to push for independence. And as far as they're concerned, if a few children have to die of starvation to achieve independence, that's a price that they are prepared to make. They're just evil, really, aren't they? Anyway, I'm going to stop there because I will get angry if I carry on with this. So we'll draw a close there. So thank you very much for watching. Do take care. Stay safe. Stay well. And if you are in the position to donate to a food bank, do so. It can make such a big difference to them. Anyway, thank you very much and goodbye.